Hey everybody, Coach Troy here. Now just in time for that gift-giving season, Atari has shown a whole bunch of new crap on their website, including this magnificent thing right here, Monica J, or anyone in my family, if you're watching, hint hint. Yeah, right, none of them actually watch any of my videos. But anyway, first off, I just want to apologize for my voice. I've been sick the last 3 days, and I sound like I just got done shouting through an entire Saturday tournament. Please bear with me as I try to get through this. Like I was saying, Atari has a whole bunch of new stuff on their website, including game compilations. On one cart, you're going to get several different games, including 3 of my favorite on one, and that is the Epyx game series. That's right, they're taking these 3 right here and putting them into one cart. The Epyx game series are takes on the Olympics. You got summer games, winter games, and California games. Now, I like these because they're different takes on different sporting events that you're not normally going to get on like a single cart. Like, you know, football is going to be its own game. Baseball is going to be its own game. Tennis is going to be its own game. But these carts here, they have several games on one. True summer games here, for example, it's going to have several different events that are not going to just make their own cart, you know? You're not going to have hurdles as just one game by itself. But you add that with a few others, and then you got a solid set of mini games. Yes, I said mini games. So if that's not your thing, you're probably not going to like these. But if you like something like Mario Party, for example, this was almost like an early rendition of it. You got several different games, and you're going to compete with other people. Hopefully you can do it single player, but it's definitely way more fun with more. But if that sounds like something that you'd enjoy, then I think you're going to like these. Like I said, you're not going to find your traditional sports games on here. You're not football, tennis even, baseball, whatnot. No, these are going to be other things, your different events. So, California games, you got hacky sack and surfing. We all know what happened with TNC Surf Design. But if you make that as one of several different games, then it's going to be a lot more interesting for you. So let's go over these, and we're going to start with the one I went over not too long ago in summer games. As we turn the game on, we get this awesome rendition of the Olympic anthem. It's actually not too bad. I think they did a pretty good job with the Atari chip here and making that sound pretty good. And of course, you got your torch. After that, you're going to select your country. You got several to choose from. Obviously, not every single country, but depending on how many players you got, you can keep selecting different countries, and then you start up. Your first event is going to be the hurdles. Now, for hurdles, it's pretty simple. You just push right to get your runner running, and as you get to a hurdle, you got to push up to jump over it. It's pretty much down to timing, and it might seem simple at first, but to get that timing down, your character speeds up gradually, so that your timing is always different when you get to the hurdle. So that's the difficult part, is the timing always changes, and you have to adjust to the speed of your runner. It's actually much more fun than it looks. Next up is swimming. And yeah, this one, it looks pretty cool. I mean, I thought they did pretty good with the graphics here, with the pool and everything. But this is probably one of my least favorite events, because all you're doing is you're hitting the button and timing it when your hand hits the water. And then that's it. You just time it so that you hit the button when your hand hits the water, so you have a decent speed. You keep that up. And then timing your turnaround. Outside of that, there's not a whole lot to this one, and it's done pretty quick. Next up is a big fan favorite one in skeet shooting. This one is lots of fun. You're pretty much just aiming and taking out these clay pigeons as they fly across the screen. It's actually a little more difficult than it seems, and one of the more fun games in my opinion. Next up is the sprint, and this is the joystick breaker on the cartridge. This one you pretty much got to toggle the joystick back and forth as quick as you can to get your sprinter to pick up speed and keep that going, find that rhythm. Again, joystick breaker, it's alright, but it's not my most fun one on there. I always feel nervous playing it. Next up, is my least favorite one, and that is going to be the swimming relay. They took what was pretty weak to begin with in the swimming competition, and now you got to do it 3 times. Yeah, it's definitely the worst one on here. I don't know why it's there. Next up is gymnastics, and it's probably the most difficult. Unless you read the rule book, it's kind of hard to figure out what exactly you're doing. It's got the pommel horse here, and you're just making circles around it. So you got to time your joystick going in circles, and you also have to time your dismount. You'll get that higher or lower score depending on how smooth you are and how many different mistakes you make. Lastly, we have rowing, which is another rhythm game going back and forth, so not unlike the sprint, same motion, but you have to just time it better, watching your oars to make sure that you get the most out of every single row. I always find myself swaying my whole body back and forth as I try to keep the rhythm in this one, but it's a pretty good one, definitely enjoyable. And that is Summer Games. That's the first one of the three. I think this one might be my favorite of the three, but that can change on any day, you know, depending on which ones I want to play. A pretty good mix of 7 different games, aside from that swimming and swimming relay. I mean, that one is just disappointing. I don't know why they did it like that. I really wish they would have put something else in there. Although, thankfully, not the sprint relay. That one would have been rough. That definitely would have broke the joystick. But you still got events like hurdles, skeet, and rowing that's going to keep this one pretty high. And next up, we got Winter Games. Let's check it out. And again, we have our awesome Olympic music intro. And this time, though, the screen is blue in the background instead of red for, I guess, winter as opposed to summer. Now, again, you're going to pick your country, and you see they're a little bit different in the countries you can pick from before. And the first event up is going to be the downhill slalom skiing. And this one plays kind of similar to, like, you know, your Atari Activision skiing game. You're going downhill, picking up speed as you go, trying to get through the flags. A little annoying is when you do hit a flag, your guy there will completely turn sideways and you have to adjust to get going again. So that was slightly annoying, but it made you really be careful about not hitting the flags and not screwing up. Still a pretty solid version of a skiing game. Next up, we got the bobsled. Now this one you got to manage your speed and watch out as you're going into those turns. So you definitely have to slow down. Otherwise, you're going to fly off the track, land upside down. You do get 3 chances to try to get a full run through. But once you get through once, that's going to be your time. Next up is the ski jump. This one is probably the most difficult for people to do correctly. But once you get the hang of it, it's alright. I did a bad job this time. Pretty much you're going to fly off your jump here, and you're going to just adjust your skier so that he is in a good position for when you land, and you're going for distance. Next up is the biathlon. Solid competition combining everyone's favorite events of skiing and shooting. The skiing here is a little different, though. You're going to go side to side. You're trying to pretty much manage your heart rate as you go through. So it's not about angling your skier. So unless you read the manual first, you might get confused on how it works. But you're managing your heart rate as you go through because it's supposed to be cross-country skiing and not downhill skiing. And when you get to the targets, just aiming your shots and reloading. Trying to do that as quick as possible so you don't waste too much time. Then it's back to cross-country skiing. Do that a few times and try to be the quickest. Next up, we've got speed skating. Now this one is another one of those rhythm games where you are trying to time. You're going back and forth on the joystick. The graphic here looks a little funny to me. It looks like they're stomping down with one foot and kicking out with the other. But yeah, it's all about timing here, finding a rhythm and picking up pace with that rhythm as you go, trying to get as quick as possible. Next up, we got the hot dog. Now in this one, you are going to be going off a ski jump and trying to do some flips and tricks for big points and trying not to break your legs as you land. This is one I usually got to do a few times first before I can get my rhythm down and actually land okay. Last up is the luge. Very similar to the bobsled, but you're going to be hitting the button there to kind of slow yourself down so you don't fly off the track. Again, you're going to get a few chances to try to finish the race But once you do finish, whatever that timing is what you got. So there we go, that's Winter Games. Yes, the luge is similar to the bobsled, but they are different enough that they seem like their own particular events. The speed skating is probably the weakest of the events, being one of those rhythm games. My personal favorites, I really did like the slalom, once you get the hang of it. The biathlon is not bad either. And the hot dog, again, once you figure out how to do that jump, watch it, you. Once you figure out how to do that event, it is actually pretty fun. Now, lastly, we are going to check out the non-Olympic one in California Games. Now, when you start up California Games, the first thing you notice is this awesome soundtrack. Like, this is possibly one of the best songs on the Atari. Once you get enough of that, you can actually move on and start playing. Now, instead of having different countries that are competing, you are going to have different sponsors. First event is the Hacky Sack. This one is simple once you know how to do it, but it takes a moment to get the hang. First, you're going to have to kick that sack up in the air, and then keep it there pretty much. You'll get points based on how you hit it. You can use your head, your feet, you can turn around, kick with your heels. You get about 90 seconds to do that and try to get as many points as you can. Another cool addition to this one is the transition screen. I thought was pretty slick. Next up, we've got the half pipe. Now, something that this game has over the others is the graphics, and I think if you look at the detail on the skateboarder in this one, you can really tell that it looks better than the other games. This one here, you're pretty much trying to pick up speed, get going faster on the half pipe, and then hit your turns and hand plants and different moves. There's only a few, so it's not quite as involved as like a skate or die per se, but there's a few in there. There's enough in there to keep it interesting. Next up, we got the downhill BMX racing. Is it BMX? Yeah, look who decided to wake up. This downhill racing is probably the least impressive graphically, but the most involved. Their bike moves pretty slick. You controls pretty well, but you are going to crash a lot. You're going to be going through trying to jump over different obstacles. You can try to do different spins in the air for extra points and hit those flags. Once you finish your race, whoever has the most points again wins. And lastly, we have surfing. Now, looking at the graphics on this one, this is the Atari 2600, and they managed to get these sick waves. Now, again, this is very impressive graphically. And it controls decent. I think this actually controls better than TNC Surf Design. I could actually move my guy around and get points and figure out what I was doing. You're going to do little hops on the waves. You're going to try to do spin arounds. Just do different things to try to get points. You got about 90 seconds to do so. And again, I just can't get over how impressive this looks on the Atari. And that is it for California Games. Only 4 events, but the graphics are so much improved over the other games. Pretty sure that's where most of your RAM is going to. The combination of graphics and music, you can tell this is a later Atari game, but man, do they do a good job with it. The events themselves are pretty good too. I think all 4 of them are solid. Halfpipe and surfing might be a little bit weaker because you don't feel like you're doing as much. Hacky sack is not bad, though. It takes a while to get used to, but once you do, you know, it's fun to try to keep that up as long as you can. I don't think I've ever been able to keep it up for the full 90 seconds. Beep, beep. But, god damn it. It's a good challenge. Good challenge. And the downhill race is pretty solid as well. It controls pretty well, but is still difficult enough that you want to keep going at it. And there we go. That is the Epyx game series. You can get all 3 of these on one cart right now. I will say, if you don't have these yet and you like that kind of style, even if you're not sure, I think this is a solid pickup. I had a lot of fun with these games as a kid, and I still have fun with them now. So let me know, which one is your favorite actual game? What's your favorite events? If you can make a compilation of different events on one cart, what would that be? Anyways, this is Coach Troy. I'll see y'all next time.